There we go. Yes. So as I was saying, these are really easy to make. And today we're going to do a bit of live coding. So the focus of this is actually Node.js. We're just going to be building a Discord bot as kind of like the vessel for learning on all of these concepts. So let's get started. Slideshow. All right. So if you can check in, please. I had left this already, but I'll show it towards the end as well. But just to get started, so two things about Node.js right off the bat is, well, two main things is one Node.js is a JavaScript runtime environment. So typically when you think of JavaScript, you think websites. JavaScript runs in a website to make it interactive and dynamic, et cetera, et cetera. But Node.js is a way of taking JavaScript code and running it on your computer. And in fact, it's a really popular way of doing that. So people build like their APIs and their web servers on Node.js a bunch. There are other like alternatives to Node.js, which I do want to shout out because they're kind of cool. So there's something called Dino, which is focuses on ES modules, which I will talk about in a few slides. And then there's something called Bun, which is currently for Mac and Linux, and technically Windows if you have the Linux subsystem, but and that the thing going for Bun is that it's really really fast, and it's kind of backwards compatible with Node, which we're going to talk about today. So there are alternatives for like JavaScript runtimes. And another thing that's a very core component of Node.js is npm, which stands for Node Package Manager, and it is essentially like uh, um, if you've ever worked with like Java or C++ libraries, it's just a way to add extra functionality to your project. So in this case, uh, for people in person, it's kind of cut off. But in this case, I'm adding the the Discord.js package, which is essentially the most popular way of running a Discord bot, period, but also the biggest way and the most popular way of running a JavaScript based Discord bot, which is what we're going to be using here today. And there are like 5 million, billion, trillion packages that you can add into your project, and they all do different things. And we're going to be using another one of them in this uh, live coding session today. And I'll shout out a few at the end that you can add to your Discord bot to make it more interesting. But that's kind of the main two things that we're going to go over with Node.js. And Node.js has a bunch of other stuff, but that's the things we're going to focus on. Okay, and another main part of how Node.js is structured. So, if you've ever seen a JavaScript project, you've probably seen a package.json file, and it kind of looks like this. This is the package.json file for the starter code. So, it has the name, the version, a description. It has some scripts. So, for example, if I could have if this was a TypeScript project, which is like a superset of JavaScript that adds types, I could transpile it with like a build command. In this case, I just have a start command, which starts the actual bot. And it's just a shortcut for the node command to run a JavaScript file. You have an author, you have your license. So for open source projects, this one's using the MIT license, so you can do whatever you want with it. And the dependencies. So this is where Node actually tracks how what to install, which versions, et cetera, et cetera. So in our project, in our live coding project, what we're going to do is we're going to use the Discord.js package. We're going to use the .env package, which is essentially a way of so let's say you have a Discord token that's really, really important and it's a secret and you shouldn't give that out to anyone. .env is a way of like having it so that it's you can store the Discord token on your machine specifically, so you don't it makes a file that you don't ever commit or make public, and .env loads that in, and we'll look at that in the live coding part. And we're also using the octokit package. So that's essentially a package that GitHub made that lets you interface with the GitHub API instead of writing a bunch of REST calls or calling like API URLs. Uh, GitHub made a very helpful package that just lets you call a bunch of functions essentially to get data off of GitHub. And we'll look at that more at the live coding thing also. What else do I have here? Oh yes, so a very important concept in the JavaScript world, there's something called ES modules and there's something called common JS. So ES modules is kind of like they're two different standards for how to structure JavaScript and how it gets loaded in and such. So in this case, this left part is ES modules, and as you can see, you have like your function, you have some some packages that you're importing, and you can export them like this. The essential difference between these two is how you essentially import and export modules. And the way I'm bringing this up is because some beginners, when they start coding projects in Node.js, is they try to use import statements in common JS uh, files. Like all of these are JavaScript files, but when you try to import something like this on the left side, on the right side, uh, Node.js will yell at you and say, "This isn't how you do stuff. You're supposed to use require." So, and the reason I'm saying this is because when you work with Node.js projects, you might encounter this ES modules flavor of JavaScript, but historically, and Node.js created the standard of CommonJS. So for this project, we're going to use CommonJS, which is where we require packages instead of importing them, and we export them with this module.exports that's at the bottom. So in both cases, we're exporting this create client function, but we're doing it differently because these are two different standards for how you do it. And for this, we're going to be focusing on CommonJS. But just to let you know, you might encounter this and you might get a bunch of errors. And it's important to know that there is a difference between these two. What do I have next? Yes. So for beginners who may not have worked in JavaScript before, this is as short as I can compress this JavaScript crash course. So we did an web dev crash course, and I had it like a part for this. This is like a one slide kind of thing. So if you have programming experience prior to this will look familiar to you, where you have conditionals, you have for loops, and then you have your try, catch, and finally, and then you have how you declare functions. So it'll look familiar to any other language that you may have encountered. Maybe if you're in Python, primarily Python, this looks a little weird. Instead of doing like spaces everywhere, we put everything in brackets. But for all your UIC classes having taken C++ and such, this should look familiar. The only thing is there are no types here. So for example, this condition, you don't know what type it is. That's just kind of how JavaScript is. It's interpreted, and types technically do exist. So if you try to like compare, um, let's see, if you try to compare an object to a string, you might get like type errors because those are two different things. However, JavaScript is pretty loose with it, so it allows you to be more free with how you declare stuff and run code. However, that might come back to bite you, because if you are very unorganized with how you do your code and you try, you might end up, as your code base gets larger and larger, you might lose track of like what types are what. And for that is TypeScript exists, but we won't be going over that because I wanted to keep it as simple as possible for this workshop. What else do I have? Oh, okay. I went through that pretty quick. I guess we'll get straight into the live coding. We have a lot of time, so maybe we'll do extra stuff at the end, apart from what I had planned for the live coding. But if you want to follow along, have Node.js installed. The LTS version is recommended, so nodejs.org. And also download this starter code, which is what we're going to be building off of. So bit.ly/gdse-uic-nodejs-starter. And for people virtually, I will also put it here, bit.ly/gdse-uic node.js starter. There you go. And if you happen to be in the Discord, then you can just click it there. I put it in the virtual stage chat. So I'll give everyone a minute or so to download that. Oh, I guess for beginners who have never used GitHub before or who don't have Git installed, if you want to download the code, you click on the link, you go to this code thing, the screen button, and then you click download zip. You will get a zip file. Export it to somewhere you'll remember. In this case, I have it in this directory, and you should get something that looks kind of like this. So here's our package.json. This is a lock file, which is, let's say one of your packages updates. This lock file makes it so that it installs the exact versions that your project specified instead of updating, because if a package updates, it might break something. So this lock file essentially makes it so that it installs the correct versions that you were expecting. This README is just like this. So if you want to look at this afterwards and play with it on your own, I've added some detailed instructions on how you can get this started. We're going to go over all of this in the event, but just let you know. What else is in this directory? Yes. This .env is what I was talking about. So if we actually take a look, Let's open this. So all of these values are very secret. Well, I mean, most of them are like secret things that you shouldn't share with anyone. So, for example, a GitHub token with like write permissions to your repository that should never ever be shown to anyone, as well as your Discord token. So, if someone gets your bot's Discord token and you have administrator permissions on your bot and your server, someone with that Discord token could be malicious and just delete your all of your messages and channels and such. So, don't let that leak. Okay, so hopefully everyone got the starter code. Yes. Yeah, of course. Hold up. Where? Here we go. Here you go. Yeah, and I'll give everyone another minute just because we actually have a lot of time, which is nice. Um, yes, and I happen to be working in VS Code. Cool. I recommend doing it in VS Code because there are some things that VS Code does which is helpful. So, for example, let me zoom into this. Actually, let me bring this over here. Hold up. Let me display settings. Let me make it so that this isn't extended duplicate. Okay. I'm just gonna have to work like this, which is a little annoying. I have to stare at this big screen in person to code, which kind of sucks, but whatever. That's okay. All right. What was I saying? Right. Let's actually get started then. So, hopefully you are uh hopefully you are signed into Discord in a browser because part of this setup is creating an application on Discord. So, which I happen to not be signed into Discord on my browser. So, let me sign in. If you want to sign in quickly and you have the mobile app, you can go to your profile, go to the gear, and then go to scan QR code, and then you can just scan it. Yes. Yeah, no worries. If are you in the Discord? If you go to virtual stage and you click the little chat messages icon, no, you can just like hover over it and you should see like a message icon, and you should be able to click on that and it should let you in. Yeah, there you go. Oh, and I'll post this link as well. So we're gonna go to this link. Let me post it here. How to download the file really quick. I'll go over that again. If you click on the link, you should see this. If you go to this green code button and click on download zip, you should get a zip file with the contents of this repository, which is all the code. Uh, Extract it to somewhere you'll remember and then open it in VS Code. Okay. And are there any questions before we get any further into this? Any questions? Hmm? Are you not in the Discord? Um, if you go to bit.ly/GDSEUIC dash Discord, I think that should take you to an invite. Yeah. Okay. Any questions before we get any further into this? Any problems, comments, or concerns? Okay. If you download the current version instead of the LTS, you should be fine. I don't know 100%, but you should be fine. And if you're not, then uninstall and then install the LTS. But for now, if you click the other link I showed you, or maybe you haven't actually, you should go to this URL, discord.com/developer/applications. This is where you make your Discord bots to like actually get the Discord token. And as you can see, I have a bunch of them because I've done a bit of work and I have different bots doing different things in different places. But for this, if you've gotten to this page already, just click New Application on the right hand side, top right. Click this, and you should see something that looks like this. So give it a name. I'm gonna call it tester person. tester. And if you happen to have like a team, that's it. So you can have team projects as well. So if you have other people working on stuff, you can make a team and then add them to your team, and everyone shares that Discord bot token as well. Then you can do that. But I'm just doing a personal one. So give it a good name, click create, and you should be on this page, which is general information. And now this is where we start grabbing. Oh wait, yeah, no. This is where we start grabbing stuff off of here and putting it in the .env file. So if you're in VS Code, copy this .env file. Actually, you don't need to copy it. You can rename it. Get rid of this .example part, so you just have .env, and you should see something like this. So we're gonna start filling this out, and as I was saying, this is sensitive information that you shouldn't share with anyone, so I won't actually like show you my like public key and stuff. Well, actually, this application ID and this public key is public, so it's fine. But if I go to bot and I click reset token, so to get your actual bot Discord token for the bot account, click this reset token and you should get a new token. And I won't display it here because I need it after all. But yeah, click that, you should get a token, and then you should paste it in here between the quotation marks. It'll look something like that, with maybe a few dots somewhere, or like a $sign like that. It'll look something like that. Put it in there. The other thing you'll need is. Am I going too fast for people? Yes. Yeah. Oh, okay. Some of you might have a two-factor authentication, which do you remember when you set it up? Yeah, it's a thing where you go on your phone and then you go. I have Authy, but you might have Google Authenticator, or I don't know what other alternatives there are. But you'll need to log in with that. How do you find the bot? If you go to the link I posted, discord.com/developer/applications, and then on the right, top right, there's a new application button. Click that, give it a name, and then click OK, and then you should get to this page. Okay. Any other problems? Okay. So you're gonna also need this client ID. You won't need the client secret, but you'll need the client ID, and that's public information. So I don't mind showing you guys that. So paste it here, and now you're gonna need a guild ID for something we're gonna be coding towards the end. So if you don't know how to get that, if you don't, this is my Discord client. So if you click settings, and then you go down to advanced, and then you enable this developer mode. Essentially what that'll do is when you right click, let's say I'm adding it to this Discord server, which I probably will, you'll get this new copy server ID option towards the end. You're going to need this. So right click the server that you want your bot to live in. In this case, I'm just going to do it in the GDIC Discord just because it's easier. And so copy the ID for this, and then go to VS Code and then paste it in there. And then don't worry about these two for now. We're going to do that later. And don't worry about your GitHub token. That's entirely optional. That's just in case you run into rate limiting. So if you ping the GitHub API too much, they'll block you because they'll think you're spamming it. But if you add a GitHub token, they'll like increase that threshold. But we're not going to be using it for this. Hopefully we don't get blocked, or otherwise I'm going to have to generate that. But this Discord token is important. You should have a Discord token, Discord client ID, and guild ID. Bot. Reset token. Yes. Now I have to do the 2FA thing. Cancel Discord. Apologies, I'm getting my own token, but I have to do the 2FA thing. Okay, let's go. Copy. And I'm not going to show this because it's sensitive. Okay. Okay. Give me a moment. So if you go to bot. Yes, one moment. So if you go to this page, so you should, in your application, if you go to bot and then you click this reset token, it'll show you a big long string there. I deleted it because it's security sensitive, but you should get a big string of like stuff and copy it and then paste it in the .env file.
Um, is that a Discord server token, or is that?
Are you confused on what the token is?
I got stuck trying to help someone, and I'm a little behind.
Oh, okay. So this.
I'm not. There were two tokens.
Yes. Yeah. So.
Server.
Oh, okay. My apologies. Hold up.
But I'd also like to know how to deal with this because I also wasn't following.
Okay, so if you create your application, you go to bot. This token specifically lets you log into the Discord bot user account. So this is how you actually post like messages to like channels and stuff. This is essentially the authentication token. And then the other thing I said was this Discord guild ID, which isn't technically a token, it's just an ID. But the way you get this is you go to your Discord client, you go to settings, you scroll down to advanced, and then you enable developer mode. And then to get that ID, you right click whatever server you want your bot to live in. In this case, it's going to be the GDSC UIC Discord. Copy the server ID, and this will actually give you the thing that you put in this.
Yeah. As the guild.
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
yes.
Still checking. How do we get the client ID?
Oh yeah, the client ID you get. Hold up. The client ID you get from this OAuth tab. It's just this. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Hopefully everyone got that. I will not be showing my .env file anymore. And now we can start. Actually, before we start coding, we should actually have our Discord bot join the Discord server. So if you go to, if I remember correctly, it's this. No, it's not. Go to bot. Yes. So to actually add your Discord bot to your server, go to the bot tab. You'll see, if you scroll all the way down, you'll see this. Hold up. That's not right. They have changed this since the last time I did this. Oh, no. Okay. Go to the OAuth. Apologies. Go to the OAuth tab. Go to this URL generator tab. You should see this big long list of things. Click on this bot thing that's in the middle column. That's the actual permission to like let you add the bot to your server. And give it. I think that should be fine. Yeah, that's probably okay. Oh, yeah, and then down here you should give it send messages permission, and then give it read message history. That way your bot can actually like, do stuff with channels. And then down here you should get this generated URL for you. If you copy it and then you paste it in here, you should get this, which you maybe have seen before when you add bots. This is your bot, so we're gonna add it to a server. In this case, I'm gonna add it to the GDSC server, which is this. Click continue. You'll see these permissions. Just leave those on, which is the ones that we selected, so we know that's what we want. Click authorize. And then do the CAPTCHA, which is hopefully short. Okay, good. And then there you go. If we go to the server and look for our bot, if you're in a small server, you should see it right away, but I added it to the big server. So, tester per, this doesn't show bots. Okay. I am going to create a new channel. Building with Node.js. There. Okay. I happen to have made this new public channel, which will not exist after this event. But if I go in here, tester person, here's my bot. Nope, that's me. Here you go. Ooh, it got the username. Wait, does it actually? Ooh, okay. Name your bot something good, you'll get a good username. Yes.
Do this, but I don't see where I can copy the token from discord.com/developer. This time I need the actual.
Um, yeah. Yeah, so copy this to just.env, and then if you yeah, and then if you want to find the actual token, then once more, just so that we can go on with this, and then I would ask that you ask other people around you, but for just one last time, go to this bot tab, click, uh, well, I already had a token. Yeah, that's fine, just click that. Yeah. It's a little confusing, but yeah, that'll give you a new token. So if you've never generated a token before, it'll say reset token. If you did generate one, then it'll show like this where it says view token. I'm not going to click that, but if you click reset token, it'll give you that long string that you put in your .env file. Okay. Any other lingering questions before we move on to the actual coding part? Yes. Okay. Oh, did you download the starter code? Okay. I would ask that you ask someone around you. So, sorry, yeah, but okay. Yeah, but if you rename that .env, so it'll originally come as .ev .example, rename it to just .env. So get rid of .example, and it'll look like that. Does anyone else lost with the .env part? Okay. I'm going to continue on. If you have problems with the .env file, it looks like some people got it, so I would ask around you just to see. But I'm going to continue with the code. Yeah. And if you get lost somewhere, we're gonna have this. Well, we're gonna have this recorded first of all, and then you also have the starter code on GitHub. So if you want to follow along later or during the winter break and do your own thing with this, then that's an option. But for now, we're gonna continue. And if you want to continue along, then maybe ask your neighbor around you. And I'm gonna check the Discord for any last minute questions. Oops. Are you only allowed to add the server to the bot to servers you create? That's actually a good question. Okay, so if you have a server you want to add the bot to, but it's not showing up on the dropdown, you technically there's a certain permission you need on that Discord server to actually add it in. So if you have administrator permissions and it's not your Discord server that you own, then it'll let you. But it generally, yeah, it'll let you. Okay, so it'll let you add a bot to all the servers that you own and bots that you have the admin permissions in and also manage servers in. So that's a good question. Yeah. Oh, actually, yeah. I guess that's a really good question. If you've never actually created a Discord server, then I guess you technically have to for this. Yeah. If you scroll all the way down and you click this plus, you'll make a server. Just create your own. Give it a name, whatever, etc. You don't have to upload. Yeah, and then you'll have a Discord server that you can mess around with your bot. Okay. I'm going to continue on. So, because now we're actually going to start running out of time. So I'll talk a bit about the structure of this. I'll talk about these. So if you've never seen a comment like this is called JS which is a way to like A, add documentation to all of your code, but also B, add some type checking without actually having TypeScript installed. And if you're not in VS Code, you might not get the usefulness out of this, but now, so if I hover over this, it'll tell me like the return types and what I can do with it. And the reason that's helpful is if I go to this post commands thing, if I didn't have that, this would just say any type, which wouldn't give you like the functions that would be useful for this. So it's just something, it's a developer experience kind of thing where it helps out if you've never seen that before. But just quickly to go over the structure of this. So this index.js is where the actual bot code lives. So in this case, to run through each line of the code, this function loads in the values from your .env file, and so your Discord token will be in this like where is it? Scroll all the way down. This process.env.discord token is a thing you defined in your .env file. So this .env package makes that available to your code. This is from the Discord.js package. And from that package, we're getting the client and this gateway intent bits, which is like something they require. That's just essentially the permissions for the bot on what it can do. And then we're requiring this function from this JavaScript file. So if we go to this, you can see that I've defined a get commands from directory function. And essentially what that does is it goes through this commands folder and it looks through all of these and it checks and it basically loads it into the bot. So in this example command, this is a hello command. So we're setting the name to hello and we're setting the description to check if I'm online. And that'll actually show up as a description for your command when you do slash in your Discord server. And then this run function is what actually gets run whenever Discord sends that interaction to your bot. So in this case, whenever the bot sees an interaction like event, it'll run this function and reply to that saying, hey, and we're going to see that in action in a bit. What else? Comment, yes. And I won't run through this just because I want to focus on the actual like live part, because this has all been coded just so that we don't spend time coding this out from scratch. So this is just utility so that we can get a starting point to work with. But just to quickly run through this, this essentially looks through the commands directory, and then for each command file name, it imports it into your code. It checks if it has the things that we're requiring. So it checks if it has a properties or a run function. If it doesn't have either, it just ignores it and continues on. And then it returns the map of commands. So don't worry about that, as that's just to let you know what's actually going on if you look through this. And here's where we're actually exporting this. So as you can see, we're using common JS exports. So we're doing module.exports, which is like this essentially a variable that holds all of your exports. And here we're doing something a little weird. So here we're essentially exporting an object that's a list of all of the functions. So in here, we're exporting this and we're exporting this is blank. And if we look in index.js, here's where we're importing it. So we're requiring that module. Okay. And then other important things that you'll probably want to know if you want to mess around with this on your own is these. So here we're actually grabbing the commands and we're storing it here in this variable. So this commands variable holds all of our commands, and yeah, it essentially looks like if you know what a key value store is it essentially like you have an object, you give it a name, it's like an ID, and then it holds like data. I can console.log it for you. Console.log commands. Okay. I have just realized we've forgotten a key component. So to actually get your bot running, you have to do one very important thing. If you don't know how to get to this, I did control and then tilde, which is like the button next to your one exclamation point. Or if you just go to terminal and then like new terminal, do npm install. This will actually install the packages that we need. Blunder on my part, you do need to do that. So in your terminal, type in npm install, press enter. This will install the packages that we need. So that command will look at the dependencies in your package.json, and then it'll go to the npm site that hosts the packages, and it'll download it on your computer. So now we have this new folder with a bunch of modules. You will probably never ever look at this, but this is the internally what Node.js looks at to import your packages and such. Okay.
So if npm is not a recognized command for some reason, but we did install Node, what's the problem with that?
Did you?
It's not me. It's
Oh, have you installed Node.js before? Okay. Did you click more options? Like, did you do a custom install? Okay. That's very weird. Are you on Linux? Okay. Yeah, I'd reinstall. I actually don't know. I would Google that error because I actually don't know. I apologize. But yeah, everyone else who has the npm, you should get something that looks like this where it says added packages. That'll actually have installed the packages, and now we can start working with stuff. So to continue walking through this before we actually start with the live coding, so all of these, so here we instantiate a new instance of the Discord client. So here we're saying grab from the Discord.js package, we want a new client, a new instance of this client, and we're saving it to this client variable. And now what we can do with this client variable is we can set event handlers on this client. So the way we do that is by saying client, which is an object that has an on function. So client.on, and then you pass it an argument that's a string of what event you want to listen to. So in this case, the client is listening to a ready event, and then when that ready event fires, and that when and the your client intercepts that event, it'll run this anonymous function, and it'll console.log this out. And if this looks weird, this is equivalent to just saying function. These are the same thing. What I had before is called an arrow function, and they function a little differently, but that's just a shorthand way of doing anonymous functions. Don't worry about that too much. And then we have another event handler called interaction create, and then what that does is when your Discord user does slash and then hello and then presses enter, Discord on their backend is going to send interaction create event to your code, and this function will intercept it. So as a quick walkthrough, we're not going to focus on this too much, but just to explain what's going on is, first off, we're checking that it's a chat command. There are things called context interactions where you can right click a user and then run a command on that. We're not going to check for those. We just want to see chat commands strictly. So if it isn't a chat command, we're going to return. So essentially just return early, so none of this other code is going to run. We're also going to check that the command that they run actually exists. So if, let's say, they do slash ping, which isn't a command that we have, it's not in this commands variable. So we're also just going to return and say don't do anything. And then finally, we're going to get the command from our commands variable, and then we're going to run it, which is this run function essentially. And in case it errors out, we're going to have this guard. So we're going to try doing this, but if it catches an error, we're going to handle it here and essentially just tell the user something went wrong, we couldn't do whatever command you just did. And finally, we're actually going to log in our bot user. So this is where the .env package comes in. So we're passing the Discord token that we got from the application portal and logging in the client. So this, we're calling login on this client, and we're passing in that Discord token, and that lets the Discord.js package know, oh yeah, I'm supposed to do all of my backend API calls to the Discord API using this token. Yes.
Which fields do you want filled in and got in?
The first three.
What do you fill Discord token in with? Just that.
Yes.
I filled the Discord client ID with the token I got from the discord.com/developer website.
No, that's supposed to be your Discord token. Yeah, and then the client ID is from the OAuth, or yeah, the OAuth part. So if we go, okay, so Discord token in your .env is this. Discord underscore client underscore ID is this page in your OAuth tab. Yeah, and then your guild ID is from the whatever server you're in. And I had asked a neighbor on how to do that. Okay, let's actually start programming. So without doing anything, if we do npm run space start, you won't see this. This is just the structure of the commands, which is this. So this is just me console logging this commands variable. So this is what this variable actually holds. It's a map. So if you do commands.get, and let's say we pass in GitHub, it'll get this key and it'll return that, just so that you know what it looks like. But more importantly, you should see this logged in as, and then the username of the bot. Yes. So without doing anything, so this starter code, so we've essentially already made our Discord bot, but that's not really interesting because all it does is say, hey, once you say /hello, we can actually look at that. So if we go to this and do /hello, I have missed another critical part of this workshop. If you do Control C, it'll cancel whatever script you're currently running. There's something we need to do first before we do anything with the bot. So right now, Discord doesn't know what commands your bot actually has. The way to do that is this post commands. I'm not going to go over into this, but essentially what doing, if you do node post commands.js, if you do enter, it'll grab all of your commands and it'll post it to the Discord API so that it knows, what commands your bot has. You only have to do this once, but if you add more commands, you're going to have to do this again. So now that we've done that, our code has taken the commands from our commands directory, put it into data that the Discord API can read, and we've sent it to the Discord API. And now the Discord API backend knows what commands we have. And the reason we do that is because now, if we go to here, if we do slash, now you can see, because Discord knows what commands that your bot has, you can see that it actually shows up here. And it shows up with the descriptions of what you put, of what the commands have. So if I do slash hello, down here, it'll match the slash hello command. If we press enter, it won't do anything because our bot isn't running. So we actually, once you've done node post commands.js and you press enter, it'll show successfully uploaded application commands, which is what you should see. And now that Discord knows what commands you have, if you do npm run start and you press enter, and now your bot's going to start running up again. And now it'll say logged in. So now your bot is ready to listen to commands. And if you go back to Discord, now that your bot is actually running, if you do slash hello, it'll say hey. And the way that worked is if you go to the commands folder here and you go to hello.js, it's running this function called run. And in here we're saying interaction. When you get an interaction, reply to it with hey. That's what that's doing. So that wasn't very interesting, and our bot is technically done, but that's not very interesting. So we're gonna add some functionality to it. So in here we have a GitHub command, and right now it's empty. It's not doing anything. We're gonna actually implement it. So, and this is where Node.js really comes in with all the packages that it has. So instead of doing API calls to the GitHub API manually, doing HTTPS github.com/API/users/get-info, whatever. Instead, what we can do is we can import OctoKit. Instead, we can use the OctoKit package to interface with the GitHub API. So instead of doing github.com/blah blah blah, whatever I just said, instead what we can do is we can import our package, and then now we have this OctoKit thing. If we do this, I think I did that wrong. Yes. So it'll look something like this. So if you want to import your thing, here's our to-dos. I'll log this in. I did this wrong. Apologies. Yeah, your import should look like this. I had forgotten if it was uppercase or not. I apologize, but yeah, your import should look like this. So const curly braces OctoKit with a capital O require, and then parentheses, quotation marks, OctoKit. And this is the OctoKit package. And now we want to create a new instance of that OctoKit package. And now this OctoKit variable will actually let us interface with the GitHub API. So let's start running through these to-dos. I've laid this out so that it's simple to fill out. But first off, we want to defer the interaction. So interaction.defer reply. And what this does is, let's say your command takes a really long time to grab data off of the Discord API. Interaction.defer reply makes it so that Discord knows that it has to wait a bit before replying to the user. Usually your interaction will time out after 3 seconds. So as you saw here, if you don't respond to that interaction in 3 seconds, Discord will just time out and assume that your bot is offline. But our bot is online. It's just taking a while to get the GitHub API stuff. So we're deferring that reply and telling Discord, you should wait a bit because I'm still getting data off of GitHub. Secondly, we want to get the username from the interaction. So if you do /GitHub, you'll see that there's a username argument here, and it's required. So it's going to say option is required. Please specify a value. In this case, I'm going to do my username. So this is a way of passing arguments to your commands. So in this case, this username argument is what we want to check for in our code. So let's say const username equals this. So if you do interaction, the interaction object has another options property. We're calling this get string on the username, which is like the key, so the argument name. So in this case, we're getting the username from the options that Discord passes to us. So this username variable will have whatever we put in here. And that variable can sometimes be empty, so we want to check that it actually exists. So if username doesn't exist, then we're gonna just reply interaction dot reply. We're gonna say please provide a username. So if username doesn't exist, we're gonna tell the user please actually provide us a username. We can't do anything if you don't give us one. Yes. So we did that up here. This is our to do. Okay. Next, let's actually grab data off of GitHub. So we can use this OctoKit instance that we created and actually do that. So if we do const data equals OctoKit dot rest dot users. So I just wrote out a bunch of stuff, which will not make sense, but I will explain it once I'm done. What is the error? I apologize. The monitor is cutting this off. Oh, here's a problem. I put a comma instead of a dot and couldn't see it because the monitor is in the way. Let me just quickly check for questions in here. Any questions in here? No. Okay, let's continue. Are there any questions in here on what I've done so far? Did you do node post commands? Okay, there you go. Yeah. Okay, so what I just did here was the OctoKit has a .rest property that lets you essentially call stuff to the API, and essentially we're trying to get users off of the GitHub API, and we're trying to get them by username. So we're calling this function, and it's going to return this data object. We're deconstructing, so it'll return a response object. This response variable inside of it has a data property in it, and what this does is it just grabs it. So instead of doing data equals response dot data, we're just grabbing it straight off of the object. And I would Google object deconstruction if that was a little awkward of an explanation. But essentially, now that we have this data, let's actually see what it looks like. So console.log data. So before we do anything, let's actually see what this looks like. So interaction.reply unimplemented. So I'm just going to reply unimplemented because I actually want to see what this looks like. If I press Control C and then do npm run start again, because I changed my code, but it was still logged in, it's not going to know that you changed your code. So I'm going to npm run start again, and I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to go to this. And then if I press enter on this, something crashed. Let's not defer this for now. Data. So this returns a promise. Essentially, when you call an API, that data is not going to get returned right away because it has to make a call to the internet, and that that takes bit of time. It might be like a few milliseconds, but JavaScript runs all of your instructions immediately. Well, I mean, not immediately, it goes line by line. But when you have a thing that has to wait for, something to be completed, it returns a promise. And essentially, this is what this is. So this has to make a call somewhere. We're going to add this await key. And what that does is it's going to wait for that part of the code to return. And once it does, it's going to have this data variable here. So right now that would have been undefined, but if we wait for this, then it should have data. And I think that was the error, but if not, I'm going to have to run through the completed code because I don't want to keep you guys here too long. Oh, look, wait. GitHub. Inside. Oops. Oh, cool. Yeah, that was actually it. Live coding debug. It never goes good during demos. It's always during live demos. It works at home, but then once you show it to people. Okay, anyway, this is what this data variable looks like. So from the GitHub API, this is my GitHub data essentially. So this is my username. This is a bunch of other URLs, but this is my description, and I happen to have a Twitter on my GitHub. And this is the amount of repositories I have publicly. And here you go. So let's actually grab that data and give it to the user. So let's say um uh here. So GitHub user space dot data dot, and oh, VS Code gives us a few like things that we can use. And in this case, let's say what was it? It was login. So data.login is the GitHub username. What else? Let's show the amount of public repositories they have. Public repo amount. And let's show that. So data dot, and then from the data that it returned, it's public repo. So public repos. Here. Right. And let's move all of this into this try catch. So we moved it into this try catch block. So we're gonna try to get that GitHub user. But let's say that GitHub user doesn't exist. That get by username is gonna error out. So we're gonna reply to the user, contraction.reply, user not found. Or there was error. So if the user isn't found or there's an error, then it'll return this because it'll catch that error. Otherwise, it'll return, this. So let's try that out. And the bot doesn't know that our code changed, so we're going to Control C to stop the script, and then we're going to do npm run start again to reload our code. And it's logged in again, and now if we do /git GitHub doesn't exist. Yeah. So if a user doesn't exist, it'll catch that error and tell the user this user wasn't found, it doesn't exist. But if we do /github cyclos, which is me, it'll grab that data and then it'll show it to the user. Now this was a very simple showcase of how you can make a Discord bot. However, I would encourage everyone, especially over the winter break, to play around with this and make it your own. So there are a bunch of Node packages that you can add to your project to, in this case, we were calling the GitHub API through the OctoKit package. But let's say I am running out of battery. Let's say, for example, I am in my friend server. I have a Minecraft server. We want to know if it's online because, it's hosted on my computer and sometimes I turn it off and people don't know that it's off. Let's say I want the bot to ping my Minecraft server to tell the user if it's online or not, and they know if they can join. If I do npm Minecraft server ping, and this is just me Googling it. Honestly, if you want to find a package and you don't know what package specifically to get, but you're trying to find certain functionality, just use Google. Google is your friend. So in this case, I get a bunch of options. If I click on this is outdated, very, very outdated. If I click on this instead, okay, actually, I should explain the reason I didn't click on that. So whenever you're trying to find a package, you might find it's very, very, very outdated. So this was last updated 8 years ago. We probably don't want to use that. But if you click on this, it was last updated 3 years ago, which is better, but it's still kind of outdated. If you find a package that's really, really old, it might still work. You should give it a try. In this case, it looks like it'll try. So it kind of looks like our code that we did with OctoKit, where we're requiring the package. In this case, it's the Minecraft pinger package, and it's assigning it to this variable. And we can call ping promise on this pinger object. And this is a Minecraft IP. This is a local host one. And it's going to return the status of that. And I can actually show you this in action. Here we go. Can,
You said it's being recorded, right?
yes.
Where will it be posted?
Well, if you're in the Discord, we'll post an event recap. Yeah, so we'll post a recap of this in here, and we'll if you RSVP at the page, we'll also do it there. But just yeah, we'll post it on Discord. Yeah, but as a final, just as I see people are starting to leave, there's a lot of packages that you can use to like, you know, mess around with it. So this is my personal server. I have this board that's essentially running every like 30 seconds, and it's checking to see if the Minecraft server is up. So it doesn't have to be your next startup idea. It doesn't have to be a business idea. It doesn't have to be anything big. But if you have an idea for something that you want your Discord bot to do, just the first step is to just Google stuff. Just start searching, see how to do it. In this case, when I did this 2 years ago, I just went on Google and did what I just did right now and said npm Minecraft server package, and then I got that package, and then I just it the code kind of looks like this OctoKit one, where I require the package and then I first off read the documentation. So most packages will have an example of how to actually use their package. So what other ideas could you do? Let's say you could do like a Twitch bot thing where let's say you're streaming on Twitch. If you want to notify your Discord users, you could check the API to see if you're online, and you could do the same thing. In fact, if I do npm Twitch API package, here's a bunch of results. In fact, here's one right here. I think this is the official one. No, it's not. Go to here. Yeah, here you go. It kind of looks like OctoKit, where you require it, you have a variable, and then you call functions on it. And this doesn't look as nice as the other one, but like they're essentially just the same. So I some final notes before everyone leaves. I will have the starter code for this here. I will have the completed version of this code also on the GitHub if you want to play around with it. So the completed version of this includes a version of the GitHub command that looks nicer. It has like this like card layout, and it also includes a example on how to make this board. So I won't go over it now because I went over time, unfortunately. But I encourage everyone to look through it over winter break and make it your own thing. So it even something as simple as this will set you out in resumes where most people just have classwork. Even just putting something like this is a big step up. It's showing that you took the initiative to look stuff up on your own, and you were able to piece puzzle pieces together with like packages and stuff, and make it into something functional. So if you're not in the Discord, uh, https bit.ly gtsc Discord. If you're not in the Discord, click this, go to this link, and you should join it. I'll post an event recap in this events channel, and if you went through the RSVP page, it'll also be there, and it'll include a link to the to the GitHub starter code. I'll upload the completed starter code to that GitHub repo where you got the initial starter code for this event here. Um, yeah, I also included other resources there as well. So Discord.js has really nice documentation and a lot of examples on how to do stuff in Discord.js. So I would encourage people to read through that as well. Otherwise, yeah, thank you for coming. I'm sorry I ran out of time and couldn't complete everything I wanted to, but I really do encourage you to read through the completed code and not just run it and like add your own thing, but really read through each line and understand what's going on. And if you have a question on, maybe you're confused on how something works, just Google it. Google is your biggest friend. So, Node, what is FS? If you read through the code and you see something called FS and you don't know what it is, just Google it. It'll tell you. So it's the file system module. So it helps you grab packages or grab files off of your file system and such. So that's it for now. If you have any questions, I'll stay here for a bit. Otherwise, again, I'm sorry I kept you over time, but hopefully you learned something and hopefully you do something over break with this because again, doing something on your own and not just classwork really sets you apart from the sea of resumes that have tic-tac-toe on them as a project. So, yeah. Good luck on finals. Enjoy winter break.